Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here to the Pocono Mountains 225 race number 29, playoff race number 3 of the PCSRA Busch Series debut season. Today is Elimination Day, and after today's race, 4 drivers are going to be eliminated from battling for the championship in this series. Azar Amirmoez was not one of those drivers battling for the championship as far as that's concerned. He's on the pole position. He's 38th in the points, having a tough season so far. One of our playoff contenders, Brad Blackmon, alongside, he comes into this race 7 points above the cut line, tied with Liliana Beta. Darby King, the most pressure on her. She's 26 points below the cut line. She's more than likely going to be in a must win situation here today. And then Emily Green alongside, she is 32nd in the points. As you look at the rest of the starting lineup, a couple of our playoff contenders starting near the rear of the field. Let's get these cars moving out. Move you out of the way so you're not in the way. Hold on. There we go. Everybody is now rolling off the track. And now let's get to your playoff standings presented by Golden Corral. Help yourself to happiness. Azar Amirmoez, no matter what happens today, she will make the Elite Eight. She is the points leader, 62 points above the cut line. Has a nice little cushion over Malin Lee, who's 40 points behind her in second. She is 22 above the cut line. 15 above is Jay Green in third. Brad Blackmon, we just mentioned him. He and Liliana Beta are tied for fourth, 7 points above the cut line. Drake Robertson is sixth, 3 points above the cut line. 2 above is Danny Rant in seventh. Elizabeth Gardner is 1 point above the cut line in eighth. Annika Ricci is 1 point below the cut line in ninth. L Pelekai 9 points below the cut line in 10th. Lucy Myers 10 points below the cut line in 11th. And Darby King is 26 points below the cut line. More than likely, she will be in a must-win situation. For 12 drivers enter this first round. Sadly, we lose 4 drivers. And it's a different story for the Winston Cup Series tomorrow because we begin the first race of the second round because they just had their first elimination race last week at Indianapolis. So should be interesting to see how this will go. Here we go. On a cloudy day here in the Pocono Mountains, as the pace car pulls off, getting set for 20 laps of racing in the Explore the Pocono Mountains 225. Here we go. Elimination race underway here for the Busch Series. Darby King going to try to take the lead. Remember, she is in a more than likely a must-win situation. She would love to lead this lap and would love to win to advance her way into the Elite Eight. This is a critical race for her. Critical race, I would also say, for a couple of drivers right near that cut line. Darby King will lead the first lap. That's a valuable point as far as leading a lap is concerned. Riley Roblier going into second. Let me see here. There's actually no points for leading a lap. Checking the back of the field. Danny Rant, this is not where he needs to be right now because he's currently 2 points above the cut line. Jay Green also back here at the rear of the field, 15 points above the cut line. This is not where either of them need to be. Tony Lopez and Tico Jumiaca won the playoff races back at Chicagoland and IRP last week. There's the points leader, Azar Amirmoez. No matter what happens today for her, she is moving on to the Elite Eight. Her sister, E Amirmoez, we will see her next season in the Truck Series. And be happy to see Ebony Amirmoez back as Azar Amirmoez battling Kyle Langeland for second, and meanwhile, Riley Roblier leading this race. Remember, for the 12 playoff drivers who have not won, if they win this race, doesn't matter if they're below the cut line, they're moving on to the next round of the playoffs. And they will take 5 valuable playoff points with them going into the reformatted playoff standings. Riley Roblier pulling away. There's Maylin Lee, one of our playoff contenders. One of the 12 still in the hunt for the championship. Comes into this race in the second position in the points. 22 above the cut line. She's not as safe as like Azar Amirmoez, who is a whopping 62 points above the cut line. Lucy Myers comes in this race 10 points below the cut line. Every point means a lot for these playoff contenders. And like I said, when the checker flag waves, we're going to say goodbye to 4 drivers from this championship. And then we start the second round, which will take place in 2 weeks at Kansas Speedway. Next week, it's only the Winston Cup Series racing at Lime Rock Park for their middle race of the round of 12. And then all 3 series will be back in action, as we'll have our first race of the second round for trucks at Kansas. Busch will also have their first race of the second round at Kansas. And Winston Cup will have their second elimination race, which means we will go down from 12 to our Elite 8. And we saw a lot of this in our truck series yesterday, where drivers who are in fourth gear had a lot more speed catching a driver who was in third gear. Of course, Riley Roblier was in third gear, and we saw that with Cody Goforth in our Elimination Truck Series race yesterday. Billy Kitchens won the truck race yesterday as Noah Parker just slapped the wall off at turn number 2, which we went 2 for 2 in our elimination races. Second on backer, running about almost 10 miles an hour faster. There's Lucy Myers. There's M Amirmoez. Lucy had a run on the 8, but got a bit tight there through the center of turn number 1. This track is a tricky triangle with 3 different straightaways and 3 different turns. Also, another thing is if any of our playoff drivers get involved in an incident here today, this could also end their championship hopes of possibly moving on to the Elite 8. And for these Busch Series drivers, they're going to have a week off to think about, what to do for the 8 that are still in the hunt for the championship when we head to Kansas in 2 weeks. It's really going to feel weird. We're going into the Kansas. It's going to feel weird that 2 series are about to start the second round of the playoffs, and 1 series is about to end the second round. Just like this weekend, we've had our first elimination races for trucks and Busch. Well, tomorrow we're about to start our first race of the round of 12 for the Winston Cup Series drivers. Because, like I said, we just came off our first elimination race. Take a lap on board with Lucy Myers in the Hillsboro Coffee Chevrolet for NEMCA Motorsports. One of the 12 playoff contenders is Riley Roblier, way out of the groove. Got up in that white area where there's not a lot of grip up there. And that's going to allow the 8 machine of Malin Lee to go right by for the race lead. And remember, he's not in fourth gear. Now Lucy Myers looking at the inside as we're going through the tunnel turn, heading down the short chute, heading into turn 3. Turn 3 is like the Milwaukee Mile. Turn 2 is the track we were at last week for the Winston Cup Series at Indianapolis. And turn 1 is like Trenton Speedway. And now Riley Roblier is now in fourth gear. Remember, Cody Goforth was not in fourth gear for the entire Truck Series race yesterday. Whereas everybody else in that 36 truck field was in fourth gear. And there's Azar Amirmoez. Like I said, she doesn't have to worry about today. I mean, if she wins, that's another 5 playoff points with her going into the reformatted playoff standings because she'll have also a healthy cushion between herself and the cut line for the middle race of the round of 8. So we're past the halfway point of today's race. So our Mirmo is way up the racetrack. And Luna Farmer, we're being told, is 3 laps down. And she's on pit road. Let's see what was wrong with Luna Farmer. We're going to take a look at a quick replay. Looks like the car broke down on her. She was running 7th at the time of this. That's a tough break for Luna. Luna's really had a rough year so far. She will be back in the series next year. Came in race 34th in the points. Not been a season she would like to forget. Definitely a season to forget for that 57 team. So they got the car fixed and will send her back out, but it's going to be a pretty bad day finishing in 40th. As Roblier retook the race lead. And here comes Jake Littletown. After this race, we're going to find out who will be our Elite Eight and who would be the four that get eliminated after this race. The good thing is we won't have to worry about that for the Cup race tomorrow because we already will start a new round. So it's like almost like starting at Chicagoland. Riley Roblier has been the victory lane this season, but he was unfortunately not high enough in points to have his win count for a playoff berth. Comes in this race 25th in the points. If only he was like that 3 weeks ago, he would have been in the playoffs, but too many inconsistent runs, and unfortunately, this is where we are at. But would love to finish his season with a win. Jake Littletown would be the same way. As we're down to 5 laps of racing to go. Tomorrow we will cap off the Pocono weekend, as I said, with the first race of the second round. That'll be at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here at Pocono. As we'll bring you the first race of the round of 12 for the Winston Cup Series drivers. And we'll tell you about what we expect in that race tomorrow, whether or not we could possibly have possibly pit stops in tomorrow's Winston Cup race. As we so far have had 2 clean races here this weekend, in which we have not seen the yellow flag, but knowing the Winston Cup Series cars, I can guarantee you there's going to be a yellow flag sooner or later before the end of this weekend. 4 laps to go here at Pocono. We're going to go from 28 drivers to 32 as far as they want to finish their season with a trip to victory lane. There's Linda Farmer back here, and there's a couple of people that are back here that really shouldn't be back here, like Lila Bakai, Tony Lopez. Not a good run for him. And I noticed Danny Rand's back here at the rear of the field. Looks like Danny Rand could be eliminated after today. Of course, remember, he was the driver 2 points above the cut line. Elizabeth Gardner's not running any better. I know 11 of them are fighting for their playoff lives. The only one who's not, who I already know will have a nice cushion, will be Azar Amirmoez, which the last time I've done a Busch or an Xfinity Series um, season, that 13 right there won the championship with Monica Towns in the last ever Buffalo Wild Wings Series schedule a couple of years ago with team owner Zachary Taylor when he was fielding a Ford at the time. So could possibly history repeat itself with the 13 in this debut season of the Busch Series? We're going to have to wait and see. And it looks like we might not go 3 for 3, but that's all right. Might have another playoff spoiler like what we've had in the first two races. As we're going to come to the white flag here at Pocono Raceway. One more lap to go, sponsored by Credit One Bank. There's the white flag. Next flag, we will race back to the checkers if we do get a caution, which is looking very unlikely at this point. And we will not go 3 for 3 in the elimination races between all three series because off of turn number 3 for the final time, first win of the year for Jake Littletown. He takes the Explorer, the Pocono Mountains 225 here today at Pocono. Talk about a driver who has not had the best of seasons. And this will definitely help Jake Littletown in the points. 26th in points is where he dropped 4 spots from 22nd after last week's race at IRP. And this will definitely put him inside the top 20 in the points. Standings are not yet official. And we're waiting for it to get official sooner or later. There we go. There it is. Now the question is, who will be eliminated? That's going to be the question. Michael Ford will get second. Azar Amirmoez third. She was already guaranteed in the next round. Well, she's having that momentum carried over to the Elite Eight. I can tell you that for certain. Riley Reblair fourth. Fifth went to Lucy Myers. She came as race 10 points below the cut line. The good news for her, she was ahead of a number of drivers that were ahead of her in the points table who didn't have good runs today. So the question is going to be whether fifth is going to be enough for her to advance into the Elite Eight. Bart Simpson comes away in sixth. Bart came into this race 29th in points. Nice momentum for him. Malin Lee second in points, seventh. She is going to advance in the Elite Eight. Darby King was eighth place enough to get her in the Elite Eight. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Noah Parker ninth and Makara Mirmoez complete the top 10. Makara will be back in the 16 ride next season. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4 playoff drivers inside the top 10. Where were the rest of your playoff drivers? Liliana Bata, 16. She was 7 points above the cut line. She did finish ahead of a number of drivers that were ahead of her in the points. I think she did enough. We'll have to wait and see. Don't quote me on that if I say these stats are right or wrong. Do not quote me until you see the points down in the description. Just an FYI. Annika Ricci, 21st. Jay Green, 23rd. Drake Robertson, 24th. Annika was below the cut line as far as the playoff grid. I don't know if she's done enough. Elizabeth Gardner, question mark for her, 26, as you look on down through the rest of the finishing results. Let's see here. Danny Rant, 34th. 2 points above the cut line. I think he might be eliminated. Brad Blackmon was 7 points above the cut line, 35th. Leela Bakai was one of the drivers in the elimination zone. Leela Bakai will be bowing out of the playoff discussion. She will be eliminated from the playoffs, 37. She was already in the elimination zone, needed a good run, but unfortunately, I can confirm Leela Bakai will be one of the 4 drivers eliminated, but who will join her in the elimination spot, I don't know. I really don't know. Was 8th good enough for Darby King? That's a couple of question marks. I know Azar Lee did enough to make it in. Myers was fifth enough to make it in. We're going to have to wait and see, and you're going to find that out when you see the points down in the description as far as the reformatted points. All I will say is I'm sorry to L Pelekai and the other three drivers who have been eliminated from the playoffs, and congratulations to the Elite 8 drivers on making the playoffs in the second round. Hope you guys enjoyed this elimination race from Pocono. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to become part of the PCSRA crew today. We share your full finish results, your points, and your reformatted points will be down in the description heading into our next race in 2 weeks at Kansas Speedway. Next, our race weekend will cap off with the Winston Cup Series first race of the second round. And then next week, it's just Winston Cup as we head to Lime Rock Park before all three series head to Kansas, where Trucks and Busch have their first race of the round of 8. It'll be our second elimination race for the Cup Series drivers to find out who will be in the Elite 8. As the season's winding down, we're getting closer to find out our champions. Until then, I've been D Robertson signing off. So long from Pocono, as you've been watching yet another broadcast of PCSRA TV, where champions are made since 2010 and 15 years as the best center racing around the world since 2017.